All right, today we're going to pull apart the story of a car that so many people consider to be the absolute high watermark of automotive engineering. I'm talking, of course, about the legendary Mercedes-Benz W124. For decades, the W124 platform was just known for its incredible durability. Seriously, this thing was the backbone for everything, from indestructible taxis you'd see with crazy high mileage to those reliable family wagons that just seemed to run forever. These cars were, simply put, tanks. But this kind of boring-looking chassis had a really wild side. Independent tuners like AMG got their hands on it, and they created an absolute monster that could beat supercars. They called it the Hammer, a V8-powered beast that was capable of hitting nearly 190 miles an hour. But the most legendary version of this car, the 500e, came from a secret collaboration with a partner you would just never expect, Porsche. So let's get into how this completely unlikely alliance even happened. Okay, so before it was any kind of performance icon, the W124 was famous for one thing above all else, being massively, and I mean massively, over-engineered. See, back in the 1980s, Mercedes was just obsessed with longevity. This was way before planned obsolescence became a thing. They weren't building cars to last a 3-year lease. They were building them to last a lifetime. And you better believe they spared absolutely no expense to make that happen. Every single little detail was just meticulously thought out. I mean, they developed this super complex multi-link rear suspension for incredible stability, used tons of high-strength steel for safety, and even designed these ribbed taillights that would stay visible even when they were caked in mud. And that single wiper blade, it had this wild, mesmerizing, articulating motion that covered a record 86% of the glass, and it was engineered so it wouldn't lift off at Autobahn speeds. Just incredible. And here's a perfect example of that obsession with detail. It's aerodynamics. Even though it was designed way back in the 70s, its wedge shape and high trunk gave it a drag coefficient as low as 0.26. That made it one of the most aerodynamic sedans ever built, a true masterpiece of efficiency. So by the end of the 80s, Mercedes was kind of basking in its success, right? The W124 was a huge hit. But then a new decade brought this totally unexpected, almost existential threat, and it came from Japan. The Lexus LS400 was a bombshell. No other way to put it. It was quieter, it was smoother, and it just offered this superior refinement for a fraction of the price. The impact was immediate, and honestly, it was brutal. It hit Mercedes sales hard, especially over in the US. And just like that, the German benchmark looked dated. I mean, look at this. The Lexus offered a silky smooth V8 for way less than Mercedes' inline-6. The message from Mercedes North America was loud and clear. We need a V8 to compete, and we need it like yesterday. So here was the big problem. Remember all that over-engineering we just talked about? Well, the W124's safety-first design with its really narrow engine bay and these tightly packed frame rails, it was never, ever meant to hold a big, wide V8 engine. Now, with their own engineers totally swamped developing the next S-Class to try and beat Lexus, Mercedes turned to their neighbors, who, it just so happened, were in desperate need of some work. Porsche at the time was facing a really deep financial crisis, so they were the perfect and maybe the only partner who could take on this super complex engineering job. They had the know-how, they had the time, and their factory was basically just sitting empty. So Porsche's job wasn't to design a whole new car, it was to perform some serious surgical modifications. You can see from this list, they had to widen the frame rails, reinforce the entire chassis, and then upgrade the suspension and brakes with all these heavy-duty parts from the SL sports car. All of it just to shoehorn a V8 where it was never supposed to go. But all those modifications, especially fitting the wider suspension and tires from the SL model, well, they led to a brand new problem. The car, with its beefy new fenders, was now actually too wide to fit down Mercedes' own assembly line. The solution was this absurdly complex production dance. I mean, each car was literally hand-pushed on dollies around the Porsche factory and then trucked back and forth across Stuttgart between the two companies for all the different stages of assembly. It's just crazy. This whole intricate, hand-built process took a full 18 days to complete for every single car. This wasn't mass production, not even close. It was more like old-world craftsmanship. And all that hand craftsmanship, yeah, it came with a staggering price tag. As you can see here, the 500e cost over 35% more than its main rival, the legendary BMW M5. This thing was in a completely different price bracket. But the result of this incredible collaboration was the ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing, a car with a truly split personality. The engine itself was an absolute masterpiece. A version of this M119 V8 had just won the 24 Hours of Le Mans. So in the 500e, it delivered legit supercar performance, but it hid all that power beneath the subtle, elegant lines of a standard E-Class sedan. You know, besides the slightly flared fenders, there was almost nothing to give it away. To most people on the street, it just looked like another Stuttgart taxi. This quiet aggression, this perfect blend of an executive sedan and a backroad brawler, that's what makes it such a legend among car nuts. So out of the, 10,500 that were built, only about 1,500 ever made it to the US. And yeah, its value dipped for a while, but the totally unique story and that sublime driving experience have made it a really prized collector's item today. It represents a bygone era of car collaboration. When you step back and look at it, this wasn't just another car. It was the product of a perfect storm, right? You needed the engineering genius of Mercedes, the clever hands of Porsche, and that existential threat from Japan to force its creation. Well, in this case, it created a legend. It just proves that sometimes the greatest things are born not from some careful master plan, but from the most unusual and pressured circumstances you can imagine.